My name is Deborah, and I'm 52 years old. And yes, they left me in another country on vacation, like a forgotten suitcase they didn't care to claim. We were supposed to be a family, three sisters traveling together, something we hadn't done since Mama died. I'd spent months planning this trip, booked the flights, found the cozy little villa, paid for everything up front with my credit card, thinking they'd reimburse me later, like they promised. They never did. It started with excuses. I'll transfer you next week. Can you cover the rental car too? I'm short this month. I was too embarrassed to press them. After all, we were family. I should have known better. We landed in Lisbon on a bright Thursday morning. Sun on our faces, cameras clicking. For a moment, I believed maybe this trip would be a turning point. That we'd laugh like we used to. That the wounds from the past, money fights, Mama's will, all the things we never said, would heal over 7 days of wine, food, and ocean air. But by Sunday afternoon, I woke up to silence. No sound of coffee brewing, no laughter from the terrace. Their luggage was gone. So was the rental car. And on the table, a handwritten note. Deb, sorry. Something urgent came up back home. You'll be fine. No explanation, no return flight booked, not even enough cash in the safe to last a week. I sat on the edge of the bed for what felt like an hour, holding that note like it was a dead bird in my hand. Me? I'll be fine? They knew I hadn't traveled alone in years. They knew I had a fear of unfamiliar places, that I struggled with anxiety, that I hadn't even driven in a foreign country before. I wasn't fine. I was furious. I walked around that little villa with clenched fists, my heart pounding like a war drum. They left me. For what? A man? A fight? An emergency? It didn't matter. I was disposable. My own blood. My phone buzzed that evening. A message from Sarah, my younger sister. Didn't mean to hurt you. We'll talk when you're back. No apology, no admission. Just a throwaway text like I was some distant friend she barely owed civility to. I replied, don't worry, I'll be back soon, and we will talk. But I had no intention of crying, or begging, or playing the victim. Number. I had something else in mind. For years, I had kept my distance from family drama. Let them handle Mama's estate. Signed documents without asking questions. Trusted too much. Accepted too little. But I still had access to the accounts. My name was still on the deeds. Mama's home, the one my sisters now rented out to tourists for a tidy sum, was still partly mine. I just never exercised my rights. Until now. I called the bank from a public phone, transferred my portion of Mama's inheritance into a separate account, froze the joint one, canceled my credit card. Yes, the same one they used for online shopping emergencies every month. Then I contacted the lawyer. I'd like to initiate a change in property management, I said, effective immediately. The lawyer hesitated. Your sisters won't like this, Ms. Rowe. They left me stranded in another country, I said, coldly. I no longer care what they like. He paused, then said something I'll never forget. Understood. Sometimes justice isn't loud, it's just firm. By Tuesday, I had moved into a small guest house by the coast. The owner, an older woman named Inez, took one look at me and said, You look like someone who's been betrayed. I nodded, unable to answer. She offered me tea. In the Bible, she said, Joseph's brothers left him in a pit, but God didn't leave him there. Her words pierced me. I wasn't alone. I was rising. I spent the rest of the week in peace. I swam. I walked barefoot. I prayed. And then I flew home. to their home. I arrived unannounced, just as the last set of Airbnb guests rolled their suitcases out. When my sisters returned that evening, they found me on the porch, watering Mama's old roses. Sarah's mouth dropped open. "What are you doing here?" "I live here now," I said simply. "This house belongs to me too." "You're being ridiculous," Emily snapped. "No," I said. They stood on the porch like strangers. Emily, with her perfectly pressed blazer, arms crossed tight, chin lifted like always. And Sarah, slightly flushed, eyes darting, clutching her phone as if it could save her. But I didn't flinch. I leaned back in Mama's old wicker chair, the same one we used to sit in during summer storms. I could hear her voice in the breeze, almost like a whisper. "Don't let them steal your peace, Deborah." They tried to argue. "Deb, we didn't abandon you. It was just complicated," Sarah started, her voice cracking. "Complicated is not booking your sister a return flight," I snapped. Emily rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. We left because the Airbnb guests were arriving early. Someone had to handle it." "So you chose profit over blood?" I asked. That shut them up. Inside, the house smelled like lavender and lemon, just like Mama kept it. I had spent 2 full days cleaning, scrubbing away the dust and their overpriced modern decor. Gone were the metallic wall art pieces and the fake succulents. In their place, Mama's cross-stitch frames, her family photos, and the old leather Bible with her name embossed in gold. I walked through the hallway slowly, letting them follow me like guests in a museum. "This was her house," I said, "and you turned it into a business." Emily scoffed. "We needed the income. You've always been stable. A bank manager, remember? You don't know what it's like to live month to month." Oh, the irony. "Stable?" I laughed bitterly. "You used my stability like a lifeline, took loans in my name, used my credit card for your emergencies, and I stayed quiet, for Mama's sake." Sarah sank into the old floral couch. "We didn't think you'd fight back." That sentence hit me harder than anything else. They didn't think I'd fight back. Not quiet Deborah. Not the eldest sister who always cleaned up the messes. Not the one who chose peace over confrontation. But Mama's passing had changed something in me. Watching her slip away slowly, whispering regrets between prayers, made me question everything. She had worked her whole life, raised 3 girls on her own, died with grace, but also with sadness. Sadness that we had grown apart, that we let money and pride replace love and unity. And now, I was here to reclaim more than just my share of the house. I was reclaiming myself. That evening, I invited them to stay for dinner. Emily hesitated, but stayed. Sarah helped in the kitchen like we used to. "Remember when Mama made that stew with the wrong spice?" she asked, laughing gently. I smiled. We all pretended it was delicious. "We were poor," she whispered, "but we were together." The words hung in the air. We sat at the dinner table with real plates, not paper ones for tourists, and I told them the truth about how I cried in that villa, how a stranger's kindness brought me back to my senses, how I realized I was living someone else's version of family. "I'm done being the convenient one," I said. Emily stared at her plate. Sarah nodded, wiping away a tear. That night, they didn't argue. They didn't pack. They just sat with me, quiet and uncertain. The next morning, Emily was gone, just like in Portugal. But this time, Sarah stayed. The next few weeks passed in silence between us. Sarah stayed in the guest room, unpacking slowly, like she wasn't sure if she belonged. She cooked, cleaned, asked questions about my day, but there was a heaviness in the air. Guilt, mostly, and history. Emily, of course, vanished. No calls, no texts, just radio silence like she was waiting for me to cool off. But I wasn't cooling off. I was heating up. The lawyer called. "There's a complication," he said. I closed my eyes. "What kind of complication?" Emily filed a motion. She's claiming financial duress and mismanagement of inherited assets. She's suing me? She's trying to reverse the asset freeze. And if she gets it, she could evict you. I held the phone tighter. Let her try. I had spent years building a life of responsibility. My job at the bank wasn't just about numbers. It taught me discipline, strategy, and how to read people. Emily was bluffing. She always bluffed. But still, it stung. Sarah walked in with 2 mugs of coffee. "Bad news?" I nodded. She placed a hand on my shoulder. "Let me talk to her." "Number? You don't owe me that." "Yes, I do," she said firmly. "I let her do the dirty work for years. I let her use you. I was afraid of losing her." I looked at her. "And now? I'm afraid of losing you." Later that night, Sarah called Emily. I could hear them arguing through the thin walls. Accusations, tears, long silences. When Sarah came out, her face was pale. "She's not backing down," she said. "She wants the house. She says you're emotionally unstable." I laughed bitterly. For once, I wish I were unstable. Then I'd burn this place down just to make a point. Sarah didn't smile. Instead, she knelt by Mama's old Bible and opened it slowly. Her finger stopped on a passage. "She would read this to us every Sunday," she said. "Remember?" I looked. Romans 12:19. "Do not take revenge. Leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord." We sat in silence for a long time. Then I said, "I'm not taking revenge. I'm taking responsibility." But deep down, I knew something was about to break. The next day, a notice appeared on the front door. Court date, September 4th. Emily was serious. The house, the last piece of Mama we had left, was now a battleground. The court date loomed like a storm cloud, September 4th, just 2 weeks away. I circled it on the calendar in red ink. Every morning, I stared at that mark like it might move if I prayed hard enough. Sarah became my anchor. She took over small things. Groceries, gardening, even dealing with the tourist bookings that still trickled in from the old website. She never mentioned Emily again. Not until one morning, over coffee. She was in debt, Deb, deep debt, before the trip. I raised an eyebrow. She took out loans, told me she'd handle it through the house. I felt the words punch the air out of my chest. "You mean she planned this?" Sarah hesitated. I think she saw Portugal as the final chance. She needed to flip something fast, make some kind of deal. But when she saw you taking control, she panicked. I sat down slowly. "She didn't leave me behind because of an emergency." Sarah shook her head. "She left you behind because she needed to cut you out." That night, I barely slept. I opened the files. Old bank statements, emails, contracts. For the first time, I combed through the numbers not just as a banker, but as a sister who had been betrayed. And there it was. Tens of thousands withdrawn over the past 2 years. Her name on every transaction. My credit card used for property maintenance fees I'd never heard of. Loans she took using Mama's house as leverage. And my name. Signed digitally on documents I'd never seen. Forgery. I printed it all. At 3 a.m., I sat in Mama's armchair, whispering out loud, "You trusted us to protect each other. I failed you." But something in me hardened, a new layer of resolve. This wasn't just about property. It was about truth. Sarah found me there before sunrise, a blanket in her hands. "Promise me something," she said. "What?" "If it gets ugly in court, don't become like her." I looked at her. My eyes burned. "I already feel like I have." She placed a hand on my heart. "Not here. Not yet." We sat in silence as the sun bled through the windows. Two sisters, two versions of the past, and one final chance to rewrite the future. The courthouse was colder than I expected. Gray walls, plastic chairs, a silence that felt heavier than stone. Sarah sat beside me, her hands trembling in her lap. Emily walked in with a lawyer in a tailored suit and a red folder under her arm. She didn't look at me. The judge entered. The proceedings began. I stayed quiet as they presented their case. Claims of instability, financial manipulation, abandonment of property responsibilities. They painted me as a controlling, erratic woman who seized the house during a mental break. Then it was our turn. I stood, papers in hand. My voice didn't shake. "Your Honor," I said, "I have documents proving misappropriation of joint inheritance funds, forged signatures, and misuse of my financial accounts. I can show the court exactly where my credit card was used and who signed on my behalf." I handed the folder to the clerk. Emily's lawyer tried to object, but it was too late. The judge paused, read, then looked up slowly. "Ms. Rowe, did you sign these documents?" Emily's voice wavered. I thought I had permission." "So you did sign them?" Silence. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering harshly. Then it happened. Emily burst into tears. "Fine," she cried. "Yes, I signed them. But I didn't mean to hurt her. I was drowning." Her voice broke like glass. "I lost my job. My husband left. I was behind on everything. And she, Deborah, she always had it together. I thought she could afford to lose a little. Just a little. I never meant to." She stopped. The courtroom was still. My heart pounded. Sarah covered her mouth. The judge leaned back, face unreadable. "This changes the case entirely," he said. "Fraudulent activity involving shared assets is a serious offense." Emily looked at me, not with anger, but with something deeper. Shame. I took a breath. I could push for a full criminal charge, or I looked down at Mama's wedding ring on my finger. She wore it every day, even after Daddy left. Said it reminded her that promises matter. Even when people forget. I raised my eyes. "I don't want her in jail," I said. "I want the house legally transferred into my name. No more joint ownership, no more lies." The judge nodded slowly. "Is that acceptable to both parties?" Emily couldn't speak. She just nodded through tears. It was over. Not with a slam of the gavel, but with surrender. Outside the courthouse, Sarah wrapped her arm around me. "You did the right thing," she whispered. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. In the weeks after the ruling, the house felt different. Quieter, lighter, as if a storm had passed and left everything washed clean. The deed was now solely in my name. The lawyer sent the official documents by courier, and when I opened the envelope, I didn't cry. I just exhaled. Sarah stayed, even after I told her she didn't have to. I want to be here, she said. I want to help. So we worked, side by side, not just restoring the house, but rebuilding what we'd lost: trust, respect, something close to sisterhood. Emily, on the other hand, disappeared from our lives. No messages, no visits, just silence. Until one afternoon, a letter arrived. It was handwritten, no return address. Deborah, I don't expect you to forgive me. What I did was wrong. I panicked. I was drowning in shame and debt and jealousy. You didn't deserve what I did to you, and I'm sorry. Truly, I've sold my car, paid off the worst of the loans. I've started working again. I hope you find peace in that house. You always loved it more than any of us did. Take care of Sarah. She's better when you're near. Emily. I read it twice, then folded it and placed it inside Mama's Bible. Not everything needed a reply. Sarah came into the room. Was it her? I nodded. You okay? I think I'm finally getting there. We sat on the porch, the sky turning gold behind the trees. I was afraid this house would tear us apart, she said softly. It almost did. But it also brought truth, she added. I looked out across the lawn where Mama used to hang our sheets to dry. Truth hurts, I said. But lies, they destroy. We decided to keep the house, not as a rental, not as a bank account, but as a home, a place of healing, a place for new beginnings. Spring came early that year. The garden bloomed like it hadn't in years. Lavender, rosemary, tulips along the edge of the path Mama used to sweep barefoot at dawn. I woke up before sunrise most days, just to breathe the quiet, to feel the stillness I had once mistaken for loneliness. But it wasn't loneliness. It was peace. The house no longer echoed with ghosts. It pulsed with new life. Sarah had started hosting community gatherings in the backyard. Women from nearby, many older, most carrying stories heavier than mine. Widows, divorcees, grandmothers raising grandkids, all of them looking for something real. They came with pies, salads, folding chairs, and left with tears dried and hearts a little lighter. I listened more than I spoke, and when I did speak, I told the truth. One day, a woman named Miriam asked me, "How did you survive what your family did to you?" I paused, then said, "I stopped needing them to see me. I started seeing myself." She nodded slowly. "That's not easy." "No," I agreed. "It's not, but healing never is." That night, Sarah and I sat on the floor of the living room, sorting through old photo albums. She held up one of Mama in her church dress, standing next to a car we all hated. "She really did the best she could, didn't she?" Sarah whispered. "She did," I said. "Even when we didn't." Sarah looked at me. "You remind me of her now, the way you hold everything together, but not with fear, with faith." I smiled faintly. She held everything with prayer. I'm still learning how. Sarah took my hand. We're getting there. And we were, not because things were easy, but because we chose not to run anymore. 3 months after the court ruling, the first letter from the bank arrived. It wasn't addressed to me. It was for Emily, forwarded to our address by mistake. Sarah opened it by accident, thinking it was another gardening catalog. She stood in the doorway, paper in hand, her face pale. "Deb, it's worse than we thought." I took the letter and read it. It was a foreclosure notice. Apparently, Emily had taken out another loan after the court case. She'd defaulted. The bank was moving in. Why would she use our address? I asked. Sarah shook her head. Maybe she didn't have another. I sat down heavily. There was a number at the bottom, a contact person. I stared at it for a long time. Sarah said nothing. She knew this wasn't her call to make. That night, I couldn't sleep. My heart was restless. I opened Mama's Bible again, flipping through the pages until I stopped at 1, like someone had guided my hand. Luke 6:32. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. I stared at those words until tears blurred the ink. What kind of woman did I want to be? One who wins or one who forgives? At sunrise, I made the call. The woman on the other end was curt. Yes, the loan is in default. Unless the amount is paid in full by next week, the remaining assets will be seized. I hesitated. How much? She gave me the number. It wasn't impossible, but it would cost me. It was raining the day she showed up. I heard the knock, soft, hesitant. When I opened the door, Emily stood there soaked through, no umbrella, eyes red. She looked smaller than I remembered. Deborah, she said, voice shaking. They told me someone paid the debt. I said nothing. She clutched her coat. I thought it was a mistake, but the bank confirmed. It was you. Silence. Why? She asked, almost breaking. After everything I did, I stepped aside. Come in before you drown. She hesitated, then crossed the threshold. We sat in the living room, just like we did when we were kids, after Mama's scoldings. Quiet, nervous, full of unspoken things. She finally spoke. I'm not proud of who I've become. I looked at her. Really looked. No, I said. But I think you're still in there somewhere. Her eyes welled up. I wanted to control everything. I thought money would fix me. But it just revealed who I was when no one was watching. I nodded. That's the dangerous thing about wealth. It shows your heart. I was cruel to you, she whispered. I used you. Lied to you. Yes, I can't undo it. No, you can't. She covered her face. Then why help me? I paused. Because Mama would have. And because I finally understand what she meant when she said that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's strength that refuses to rot. Emily sobbed. She cried for a long time. I didn't hug her. Not yet. But I didn't push her away. Eventually, she whispered, What now? I looked out the window at the rain washing over Mama's roses. You rebuild, I said. Not with schemes. With truth. With work. You start over. She nodded, almost like a child. I can help in the garden, she said softly, if you'll let me. That was the moment. Not the court, not the bank. This was the victory, not revenge, but redemption. It's been 6 months since that rainy afternoon. The house is still standing, stronger than ever. Emily comes every Saturday. She pulls weeds, scrubs porch steps, makes terrible lemonade we all pretend to love. She never complains, never asks for more than we offer. And she hasn't missed a day. Sarah says it's like watching a ghost come back to life. As for me, I sleep better. I smile more. The fear is gone. I'm not the same woman who stood alone in Portugal. That woman was scared, hurt, invisible. I'm someone else now. I still work at the bank part-time, but my heart lives here, in this house Mama built, with sweat and prayer. We turned the back room into a reading corner. We host monthly Bible studies now, people of all kinds, some searching for answers, others just needing to be seen. Last week, a woman named Linda broke down during prayer. She'd lost everything: her marriage, her savings, her dignity. And I told her, "You're not lost. You're just in the middle of the story." Because I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to be left behind and still find your way home, to be betrayed and still choose mercy, to be quiet all your life and finally speak loud enough for the heavens to hear. Sometimes I sit alone on the porch, cup of tea in hand, and whisper a verse Mama used to love. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. And I believe it now. I really do. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt forgotten, if you've ever been left behind by people who should have protected you, if your heart is broken but still beating, let me tell you this: you're not done. You're just getting started.